All right, welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. This is going to be the part two to last night's episode where I went over the Phillies' top 10 prospects. Last night I went 10 through 6. Today we're going to go 5 through 1. Let's get right into it. So, number 5, Arun Escobar. So, you guys know all these guys. Like 10 through 6 was kind of fun because there were some players I knew the name, but I didn't really do a deep dive. Like Matthew Fisher, didn't know who he was. The Cade guy, can't pronounce his last name. So, it was a learning experience for me. Now, these guys I know like the back of my hand, and they're the top 5 prospects. Me having a baseball podcast that's mainly Phillies, I should know this stuff. But if you don't, this could be a informative prospect or an informative episode about the prospects for you guys. So, number 5, Arun Escobar. He's 21 years old. He was signed at the start of the 2022 international signing period out of Venezuela for $450,000. Escobar got off to a relatively slow start to his pro career, spending 2 rather nondescript seasons in the Dominican Summer League, finishing with a combined 694 OPS. Things clicked more when he came stateside in 2024, when he posted a slash line of 338, 495, 481 in 24 games in the Florida Complex Leagues, though shin splints limited time on the field in 2024. And this description I'm reading is all in MLB.com for you guys to read. So if you're ever curious about really diving in to really any prospect, they have them for all 30 big league clubs. They have the time they were drafted, their age, ETA, and then they have like a descriptions, like 2 or 3 paragraphs, just kind of the player's journey so far and what led them to being ranked where they are. So that's kind of informative for you guys as well. Next part of the description: when he was healthy, Escobar's surface numbers and the underlying data behind them last year point to a potential breakout. Even when he was putting up numbers in the DSL, Dominican Summer League, he was showing a advanced approach at the plate, with a lot of walks to go along with minimal swing and miss, or chase. Come on, let's get players that don't have a high chase rate. But while he was making a lot of contact, he wasn't finding the barrel. He learned last year how to get his body behind the ball from the right side of the plate, allowing him to impact the ball at a more consistent level, and he started tapping into his power. So basically, Arun Escobar struggled in his first couple seasons, or I think it was just his first season in the Dominican Summer League, 23 and 24, so 2 seasons. But 2025, he found something, right? And that's what gave him that jump in the Phillies system. He wasn't ranked in the top 10 up until this year, but he had a great start to the 2025 season. He was mashing the ball in Clearwater. I didn't know who he was up until this year, but I think I learned from him through Phillies Tailgate. He's on X. If you guys are not following Phillies Tailgate on X, what are you guys doing? He's one of the most informative sources of Phillies baseball you can find. So go check him out. But that's where I remember I saw him. Just this dude, 5'10", not big, kind of stocky, a little chubby, just hitting tanks in Clearwater. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? So I looked into him and I kind of just followed him up until now. And he does have real power for his size. Now, is he maxed out at his power, or can he still develop? He's only 21 years old. So he might turn into a 30, 35 homer guy. I don't think that's the case. I just think those guys you kind of know from the get-go, but I could see him being a 20 homer guy, 25 homer guy. But the power is real when he connects it. And on the description, he learned how to tap into his body. Now, again, I'm not going to claim I'm a hitting coach, but I kind of understand a little bit to where if you know how your body moves and you can move in sync and you can kind of get the rhythm, it makes everything much better. Because you see these big guys, big swings, big swings. They don't know how to control their body. They're leaning out front to where they can't use it. But Arun was able just to stay back right here, bang, right here, bang. So I think that was a big reason why he had such success in the 2025 season. Now, where does he play defensively? Right now, he's a second baseman, but scouts say he can go to third or second, right? He's not a shortstop. He's, with his stocky frame, second base might even be pulling it. Now, maybe he gets in great shape and he turns into a middle infielder, but right now, second or third. And he's about an average defender. Like, not great, but then again, he's still young. Like, that's the thing about these prospects. If they're still so young, they could turn into something great. Like, they can build into their body more, fill out their frame, and they could always like become a better player. Because the thing about, again, on prospects is there might be a guy that you have no idea in one year, and then next year he's in the top 10. Arun Escobar, for example. So in 2025, he hit 271 with a 361 OBP and a 774 OPS across low A and high A. He was promoted to Jersey Shore, which is the high A affiliate of the Phillies. Clearwater's the low A. You got low A, high A, double A, triple A, right? Now, you might say 774 OPS isn't a breakout year. It's good, but it's not great. He struggled towards the end of the year. He had his main success in the beginning of the year. But the thing, if you just look at kind of how he grew into his frame with learning how to use his body, I think there is a reason he's a top 5 Phillies prospect. Now, granted, our system is ranked 21st overall. Not great. So our top 5 prospects obviously not going to compare to like a top 5 prospect in the Mets organization or the Dodgers organization. For as much as I hate the Mets, they got some dogs coming up, man. They got some dogs, and you got to give credit to Steve Cohen for that and the organization rebuilding that farm system. So my outlook for Arun Escobar, I have no idea. Like all these prospects, except for like Painter, Miller, Crawford, I think I kind of have an idea. But the younger ones, this is just my prediction. I don't know if it's going to happen. They're prospects, man. I thought Scott Kingery was going to be a multi-time All-Star. Did not work out. But I think he could be an average defender at best, right? He play decent second, move him to third. He's going to make the routine plays. But I think he could be, like I said, 20 to 25 homers, maybe at 800 OPS. I think he could be a good big league player. I don't think there's any chance he's going to be in the Phillies' major league plans because there's a logjam. There's nowhere for him to play. Trey Turner's at short. Again, I think Bo Bichette's coming to the Phillies, so he's either at third or second, and I think Stott fills in another slot. And then you got Aiden Miller coming. So Aiden Miller's going to take up one of those spots, whether it's the end of this year, whether it's next year. I just don't see a spot for Arun Escobar. I think he's a good player, but especially with that frame, I don't think they can move to the outfield. Like maybe in the corner, but your bat has to be really good for you to be a below average left fielder. He's not going to be in right field. He's definitely not going to be in center field. So I think the Phillies should either trade him now or at the trade deadline because I don't really know how other teams value him because we might value him because he's a top 5 prospect in an organization, but other teams might be like, your farm system sucks. Like, we don't want him. When the Ketel Marte rumors were coming out that he was on the trade block, I was all for that. Turns out he's not getting traded. I had a package of like Arun Escobar, a Gage Wood, and then one of the 3, Painter, Miller, Crawford, preferably Crawford. That's the kind of the package I envision for Ketel Marte, and I don't think that's an overpay because Ketel Marte is a freaking stud. And the reason why I think Arizona is desperately trying to trade him, one, you heard the clubhouse issues. Okay, dude, I don't know how true that is. You get all these reports. It could be false, could be true, whatever. But Ketel Marte, so there's this thing in baseball called 10-5 rights. So if you've been with a organization, what's the 10-5 rights? If you have 10 years of big league service time, and then if you've been with that said team for 5 years, you get a full no trade clause. Now, Ketel Marte had a limited no trade clause when he signed his extension. There was 5 teams on the list. The Phillies weren't one of those teams. So if the Phillies traded for Ketel Marte, he couldn't waive it. One of the teams on his no trade list was the Yankees. So if the Yankees came up with a package that them and Arizona agreed on, they would first have to go to Ketel and get the permission. He gets his 10-5 rights 10 days into the big league season. So if they don't trade him before then, which they're not going to, he can veto any single trade. And that brings back to another point, going on a tangent, but whatever. Phillies baseball, gotta love it. Everyone's like, trade Nola, trade Turner, trade these players. One, Turner had a no trade clause when he signed with the Phillies. Aaron Nola already had the 10-5 rights. So you just can't trade those guys. Like, that's what the players bargained with when they did the CBA. And, that's just a plus for the player. If you've been with the organization for 5 years, and if you've been in the big leagues overall for 10 years, you get 10-5 rights. It's a little bonus. So I think he could be a valuable trade asset at the trade deadline because April, May, and June is kind of just seeing what the big league team is, seeing what you need to improve on. And if you're in contention for a playoff spot, you're going to upgrade your big league ball club. Similar to when we got Johan Durant. The bullpen sucked. We needed a closer. Hopefully, we're not going to need that. But if we have a starting pitcher goes down or whatever, or if the starting pitching just struggles and we need to upgrade that, I think Arun Escobar could be a valuable player. Trade it. Now, number 4, Gage Wood, my guy. 22 years old. He was the Phillies' first-round draft pick from this previous draft. I think everyone knows Gage Wood from the college no-hitter that he had, 19 strikeouts against Murray State. And Gage Wood is a dog. His mentality is built for Philadelphia. He's a freaking psychopath, and I say that in the most like baseball, like great way. Like he fits Philadelphia. So let's go through his description. So after Wood became Arkansas's closer as a freshman in the 2023 season and then continued to be a high leverage reliever as a sophomore, scouts look forward to him joining the rotation this spring in the 2025 season. He came down with a shoulder impingement after his second start and missed 2 months before coming back for the stretch run. Though his command was sporadic at times following his return, he delivered a 19 strikeout no-hitter against Murray State in the College World Series with only a hit batter. And another point on Gage Wood, they interviewed him after the no-hitter, and his first thing was, I really wish I didn't hit that guy. Like, that's the kind of mentality you need in these big league players that is kind of lacking in today's game. I'm not going to call the players soft, they're professionals, but there's a little bit of a difference from this era compared to the previous eras. I think Gage Wood has that old school mentality that is perfect for Philadelphia. And then the Phillies landed him, signing him below slot value at $3 million. Wood had one of the best fastballs in the draft class, sitting at 94 to 96 and reaching 98. His combination of velocity and carry, along with his low release height and flat approach angle, produces elite chase rates, as well as overall and in the zone swings and misses. So what that kind of means is he can attack hitters. He doesn't have to be outside the zone all the time. He has good enough stuff to where if he misses in the zone, he can get away with it because he has 98, right? So that's going to translate to the big league level very well, I believe. He relies heavily on his heater and a power 82 to 85 mile per hour curveball that shows flashes of becoming a plus pitch. Now, Gage Wood is really just a two-pitch pitcher. He has a slider, but his slider is nowhere near the effectiveness of his curveball. And then he throws a changeup, but he rarely throws it according to the reports. So that gives me worry for him as a starter because the Phillies do plan on using him as a starter. When initially Gage Wood got drafted, man, I saw so many edits of like Red October 2025, Gage Wood coming out of the bullpen like a psychopath. That didn't happen. They didn't rush him because they envisioned him as a starter. And he's never really had a starter's workload. He was a reliever his first 2 years, and then when he became a starter this past season in Arkansas, he got injured. So they're going to give him a shot in 2026 to be a starter, as they do mostly for like pitchers, right? Unless they draft him like Orion Kirkring as a pure reliever, they're going to give him a chance to start. I just don't think a really like a two-pitch pitcher with a below average third pitch can really be successful. Maybe in AA, maybe in AAA, but once he gets to the big league level, like Dylan Cease is probably the best two-pitch pitcher with his fastball and slider. But I've said this before on the pod. I think Dylan Cease is highly overrated. Like even when he's dominant for 5, 6 innings. He's never going to get a complete game. Of course, he's done a few times in the big league career, but Dylan Cease, that's not his makeup. So I don't think Gage Wood. I think he would have to be just like dominant, like hit his pure ceiling to be like a Dylan Cease. And I just don't see that. So my prediction for Gage Wood is he's going to be the Phillies' next great reliever. I think he's going to try to start. I think they're going to realize he's more built for the bullpen. And if they make that change early enough, I think there's a real chance he could impact the big league club in the Phillies bullpen. And I just him and Duran back to back, Brad Keller, Orion Kirkring, like that bullpen is elite, and it makes you like not appreciate, but appreciate in the moment what we have compared to what we had in the start of the 2025 season with Romano and Joe Ross, Carlos Hernandez, Phillies legend. Tough watches. I don't think that's going to be a problem in 2026. And I think Gage Wood can contribute to an already stacked bullpen. All right. Top three, baby. I call them the big three. Everyone knows the prospects: Justin Crawford, Adam Miller, Andrew Panner. Number three, Justin Crawford. 22 years old, and he was the first round pick in 2022. Son of Carl Crawford. We all know Carl Crawford. Great guy, great player. Tampa Bay Rays legend. Went to Boston, didn't work out, but he was a Rays legend. So, Justin Crawford, he's hit at every single level. But what scouts worry about him is his ground ball rate. They don't think it's going to translate to the big league level because it is a high ground ball rate. But the thing is, They didn't think it would translate to AAA. And boy, did it translate to AAA. He hit 334, 411 OBP with an 863 OPS. If he does that at the big league level, you have a perennial all-star in your hand. I don't know if that's going to be like his transition. I don't think he's going to hit like that in the big league level because obviously it's much easier to hit in AAA than the big league level. But what I've always implored the Phillies to do with prospects is don't change it until you absolutely have to. Don't change the swing fundamentally unless you absolutely have to. Because I go back to the Scott Kingery point. Scott Kingery had a really good 2019, and then they changed the swing because they just couldn't accept who the player was. They really wanted to, they got greedy. They got greedy with Scott Kingery. They wanted him to be a star, and it backfired on them. He was never the same. Now, if Justin Crawford comes to the big league level and he struggles, he's a sub 700 OPS guy, it's like it becomes evident that the ground ball rate does not translate to the big league level, then we can adjust. Then maybe he can go back to AAA, maybe make some swing adjustments. But I really implore, let Justin Crawford be who he is. Let him see if what he's done at the minor league level can translate before making that change. Now, I have seen some video of him in the offseason. He did lower his hands. Again, not a freaking hitting coach, dude. I'm not even a real podcaster, trying to get there. So I'm not going to act like I'm a hitting coach. But from what I've heard is lowering the hands will kind of drop the ground ball rate to where he can kind of lift the ball. Because if you're here, you got like so much going on and then you're coming down. If you're here and you can kind of just stay there, not an uppercut. We're not doing what we did to Scott Kingery, but kind of stay level, get more backspin on the ball. He's made that slight adjustment to where I think that can help his ground ball rate going into the 2026 season. Defense. So I've talked about this on numerous times. I really wanted them to do. Now, it's still kind of a possibility. I want Justin Crawford to be the everyday left fielder, and I want Harrison Bader to be re-signed by the Phillies. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be the center fielder, Justin Crawford, and then they're just going to keep Marsh. But Justin Crawford grades out as a slightly above average defensive center fielder. He has great speeds, but his reads on balls aren't the best. They're not bad, but they're not the best. But in left field, he's elite. He's an elite defender in left field. So I wanted them to kind of let him like take some pressure off of him, put him in the corner, bat him ninth to where just go out and play baseball. Now he's the starting center fielder for a perennial, like a World Series caliber team. Do I think Justin Crawford can handle that? Absolutely. I think with his makeup, being the son of a former big leaguer, a former big league all-star, he's been in the big league clubhouse for his entire life, basically. I think he has that mental makeup to where he can handle center field. And then we'll have to see. Like, he could just turn out to be like, he could adjust and grow to where he can be a gold glove center fielder, and that would be great for the Phillies. Because if you have a gold glove center fielder making league minimum, it makes it so much easier for you to go out and get a Bo Bichette, go out inside of Trey Turner, go get a Bryce Harper, because the guys that are producing similar to, not similar to them, because he's not going to be Trey Turner, but at a good enough level, but they're like making league minimum, it just makes the payroll flexibility that much better. So my prediction is for him, I think he's going to be the center fielder. I think he's going to bat 9. And I think a successful year for Justin Crawford is batting anywhere from like 270, 280, plays good enough defense, maybe like a 730, 740 OPS guy. I think Justin Crawford can help the Philadelphia Phillies win a World Series. Before I get into number 2, Aiden Miller, I want to make a ploy to the Philadelphia Phillies fans. Please go easy on Justin Crawford. I know how much we care about baseball. I know how crazy we can get. I get genuinely insane, but let him ease into it. If Justin Crawford's not going to be the determining factor if we win a World Series, he can help. It's going to be the stars. It's going to be Trey, Kyle, Bryce, Zach Wheeler, Bo Bichette. I think Bo's coming to the Phils. And just let Justin Crawford play ball, man. Like, let him ease into Philadelphia. It's a tough place to play. So just be easy on Justin Crawford. All right, number 2, my personal favorite, Aiden Miller, 21 years old. He was the Phillies' first-round draft pick in 2023, drafted 27th overall. Now, Aiden Miller was ranked the 13th best player on the draft, so you might be saying, how did he fall to the Phillies? So he sustained a hamate bone injury at the start of his senior season, so he missed almost his entire senior season. So that's what kind of made him fall in the draft, and then the Phillies were able to take him at the 27th pick. You never wish for injuries on anything, but that hamate bone might just get the Phillies a World Series because I think Aiden Miller's a freaking dog, dude. I think he is the best prospect. I think he's better than Painter. I think he has a chance to be the next great Philly. I'm not talking a good player like Justin Crawford. I'm talking a perennial all-star and maybe an MVP. That's how high I am on for Aiden Miller. So let me kind of just go through Aiden Miller, his timeline. So in his first full season, 2024, he raked at Clearwater. And then he got called up to Jersey Shore in June of 2025. Then he started Reading in 2025, and then he got called up to Lehigh Valley at the end of the season. Now, let me kind of go through his stats and trends of Aiden Miller to kind of give an understanding of how he progresses, how he adjusts to the levels, the improvement of levels when he gets called up. All right. So his 2024 season, like I said, he raked to Clearwater in April and May, and then he got called up to Jersey Shore, which is the high A affiliate, in June of 2024. And he struggled, right? So he had a 560 OPS in June, he had a 648 OPS in July, turned it on in August, 906, turned it on in September, 870 OPS. Now, let's go to 2025. April, he had an 825 OPS. No, is that March? Oh, that's on grass. Sorry, getting the stats wrong. But in April, he had a 625 OPS. Now, this is him in Double A because he started the 2025 season Double A. Struggled in April, had a pretty good May, 796 OPS, but then had a 700 OPS in June, 649 OPS in July, and then August and September is where Aiden Miller was absolutely raking. He probably was the best player in Double A. He had a 1,083 OPS, basically 1,100 OPS. And then in September, he had a 1,119 OPS. So I point out all these stats is because what Aiden Miller and the trend that he's doing is he struggles when he gets to the next level, but then he adjusts. He makes the adjustments, he figures out the level, and then he goes into superstar mode. And I think that's going to pay dividends when he gets to the big league level. Because the thing about these top prospects is a lot of them don't struggle at all in the minor leagues. They just rake. Then they get to the big league level and they struggle. And depending on that mental makeup, it could either make or break a player. Because if they get to the big league level and they struggle, they might be like, can I do this? Can I really succeed at the highest level? But Aiden Miller has struggled at each level except for Clearwater. But low A and Double A, he struggled, but then he's made adjustment. So I think that's going to give him the mental makeup to be like, I've been here before. I've done it before. I've overcome the struggles. I've overcome the hardness of being at a new level. So if he struggles early in the big league level, I don't think it's going to crush him. I think he's going to have the mental makeup to be like, done it before. Let's go. It's all part of the prospects. And then once he figures it out in South Philadelphia, again, I think he's going to be a perennial all-star and a possible MVP candidate. I think Aiden Miller is the real deal. Back to the Word document. All right. Defense, right? So when Aiden Miller was originally drafted, it was the thought that he was going to be a third baseman, just based on his frame, and he played a lot of third in high school, but the Phillies decided to start him off at shortstop. Now, this is the trend for a lot of first round picks infielders because you want to see if they can do it because obviously a shortstop is much more valuable to a third baseman or second baseman. So if he can do it at shortstop, that just raises the ceiling of a prospect and it just helps your big league club because it's so hard to find good shortstops in Major League Baseball. And then his defense improved tremendously. Scouts went from, oh, he's a third baseman, possible second baseman, to no. He can play big league shortstop right now defensively. So that's tremendous, right? Now, you might say, well, we got Trey Turner, right? And for all the Trey Turner defense nonsense with his first 2 years, he was terrible in 2023. He was terrible in 2024 on the defensive end. There was thoughts that they were going to flip Stott and Turner after the first year. It got that bad. But Trey Turner in 2025 played tremendous defense. I'm not talking he improved to where he became an average defender. Trey Turner was elite defensively at shortstop. He had a higher OAA, which is outs above average, than Francisco Lindor. And as much as he's a Met and we don't like him, Francisco Lindor is one of the best defenders. So that Trey Turner was a better defender than him just speaks to the volume of how well Trey played defensively. So I don't think he's going to play in the infield in 2025 for the Phillies or 2026 at shortstop because I think Trey has that spot locked down. Now, if Trey goes back to struggling defensively, I think there's a real chance he either moves to third or he moves to the outfield. But then the whole Bo Bichette thing comes in. Like Bo Bichette, if he signs, which I think he's going to do, he's going to be a third or second for the next 8 or 9 years. Um, so then it's kind of like, well, if Adam Miller's like raking in AAA and it's like evident that he is ready for the big leagues, where does he play? If Turner's playing well, if Bo's playing well, if Stotty's playing well, I think Stott's going to have a breakout year. I made a video about that. Where the hell is Adam Miller going to play? The thing about Adam Miller is he's going to find a spot on the big league roster if he's ready. The Phillies believe he's the guy. They haven't traded him yet. So I think there's a chance to where he's athletic enough to where if an outfield spot is struggling, like he could play left field for a year. I remember Austin Riley when he came up. I believe his first year was 2019 with the Braves. Josh Donaldson was raking for them. Like that was that 1 year wonder with Atlanta. Like obviously Josh Donaldson was dominant in Oakland, dominant in Toronto. But there wasn't a spot for Austin Riley. So he played left field for a year. And then obviously when Josh Donaldson signed with the Twins, Austin Riley came into play third. So I think that could be a similar outlook for Adam Miller. 2026, he could play outfield for a year if an outfield spot is struggling. And then they readdress this in next offseason. Because if Bo's playing well, if Trey's playing well, even Stott's playing well, but Adam Miller's ready and you know he's going to be like the next great Philly, he's going to go in the infield. And then that makes Bryson Stott a prime trade candidate because he has 2 years left on his deal. So next year, he will be entering his final year of the deal. Also, kind of like for the, I wouldn't say old Phillies fans, but I mean, it's been 20 years. Jim Tomei, Ryan Howard. Jim Tomei was still at the top of his game, but Ryan Howard was in AAA, and everyone was like, what are we going to do? Ryan Howard needs to play. And this is back before the DH. So there was quite literally only one spot for Ryan Howard to play. That was first base. What happened? Jim Tomei got traded. Ryan Howard came in, played first base, and the rest is history. So just to close out on Adam Miller, I think he's the guy, man. I think he's going to affect the big league club in 2026, whether that's in the infield, whether that's in the outfield. I think when Red October comes around in 2026, Adam Miller will be on that field, and I'll be there in attendance because I don't miss Red October. All right, let's get into the number one prospect ranked in the Phillies organization, our beloved Andrew Painter, 22 years old, but he turns 23 in April. So essentially the 2026 season is his age 23 season. He was the Phillies' first round pick in 2021, drafted 13th overall. Let me give you the description they have on MLB.com. One of the best high school arms in 2021, Painter looked like perhaps the best pitching prospect in the game of baseball during his first full season, reaching Double-A in 2022 and earning MLB Pipeline Pitcher Prospect of the Year honors. His express train to the big leagues was derailed by an elbow injury and subsequent Tommy John surgery that kept him off a competitive mound for all of 23 and 2024. His highly anticipated return to action came in the Arizona Fall League last year, and it did not disappoint. And there was little rust off the right-handers displayed. He displayed elite stuff over the course of 6 outings in the Arizona Fall League. Dude, I remember his first Arizona Fall League start was the day after we lost to the Mets. And I'm not comparing his Arizona Fall League to a playoff game, but it was just nice that after that complete and utter crap that the Phillies big league team showed against the Mets, that I could at least forget about it for about, I don't know, 30, 35 minutes, 2 innings of work in the Arizona Fall League. But I was pretty hyped up for that his return to a big league mound. And he pitched very well. Now, let's talk about his 2023 to 2025 period, kind of his timeline. We already talked about 2022. He was dominant, won pitcher prospect of the year. He was a stud in 22. 2023, he was going to make the big league roster. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was between him and Bailey Falter for like that 5th starting spot. Shout out Bailey Falter. We don't make the 2022 playoffs without what Bailey Falter did in the second half. Granted, he got rocked in the NLCS, didn't make it out of the first, but we love Bailey Falter on this prospect. No Bailey Falter shame will ever be tolerated on this podcast. But it was between him and Falter in 2023. And I think he only pitched one like real spring training start. It was against the Twins, and the stuff looked good, man. Like the reports coming out of camp was he was 19 years old and he fit in really well with the big league club. Like he was going to make the team. Unfortunately, he suffered a partial torn UCL in spring training. Now, I think this was kind of medical staff malpractice because they tried to rehab it, right? They didn't get the Tommy John right away. And my thing always is with how pitching is going now, especially with someone of his stuff where he can touch 98, 99, Tommy John, unfortunately, is inevitable, right? Zach Wheeler got it. Um, like these big name prospects, Jacob deGrom got it twice. Like when you're throwing at that velocity, eventually, Garrett Cole, eventually you're going to give out. So the fact that he had a partially torn UCL and they didn't get it right away, I think that was a big mistake because he didn't get Tommy John until July. If he would have got it right away, he might have been on the track to actually help the big league club last year, which we thought he was going to do. Dave Dombrowski gave a timeline of July to where we thought Andrew Painter was going to help the big league club last year, but it just didn't work out. And I think if they just would have like bit the bullet, he would have got Tommy John earlier, right in March of 23. I think maybe last year could have ended up differently. I'm not here to say they would have won the World Series. Obviously not. I just think it could have helped things for the 2025 Phillies. But you can't change the past, right? Now let's get into his 2025 season. He wasn't good, man. He had a 5.26 ERA in 118 innings pitched. But let's look at the positives. He stayed healthy. That's a win in and itself. And I kind of want to go to the point of Tommy John surgery is a 12 to 18 month recovery period, but that doesn't tell the whole story. That's to where you could be pitching in competitive, either minor league or big league games. But I think it takes a full another year to get back to who you were at the time you sustained the Tommy John injury. Jacob deGrom got it before the 2020, I think it was in the 2023 season, and it took him till this year to return to the form, right? A year injured and then a year pitching, and then 2025 he came back and he was the Jacob deGrom of old. Didn't throw as hard as he did. I think that was on purpose just to kind of like preserve his health. But it goes back to the point, you got to give guys at least 2 full years. And I know it sucks because like we're in a winning window. You got to give them 2 full years to where then they can return back to their form. The 2026 season is going to be everything for Andrew Painter because I personally believe he can return to his 2022 form where he won Pipeline Pitcher Prospect of the Year. I think he's going to help the big league club in a tremendous, tremendous way. I think Andrew Painter is the real deal. But if he doesn't and he struggles, that goes back to the point. Do you trade the prospects before they come to the big league level? Do you not? Do you hold on to them? And that's just the game you kind of have to play. Because I think if what will make Andrew Painter have a successful 2026 if he logs consistent innings as a starter. I'm talking March to October. Now, he's not going to be 210. They're still going to limit his innings a little bit. Like, I don't think they're going to push him, especially early out the gate. But if he's a consistent part of the Phillies rotation and a 3.5 ERA or below, I think that's successful. Anything other than that, I don't think you can label it as success just based on what he's been labeled as and how high the Phillies held him in the regard of the trade talks because they weren't willing to trade him for Garrett Crochet. Now, the reports I heard from Chicago was that they wanted Aiden Miller and Andrew Painter for Garrett Crochet. Absolutely not. But if the trade was Painter for Crochet straight up, you make that deal 10 times out of the week. So, but it didn't happen. So we're just going to have to see how Andrew Painter performs. I think he can do it. And I'm very excited to see what he does in the 2026 season. I'm locked in on every single Phillies games. Dude, I'm locked in on Phillies spring training games. I'm locked in on batting practice. But you best believe when Andrew Painter toes the mound for the first time at CBP, I'm going to be locked the fuck in. But that's going to do it for this episode. Man, these big 3, man, this is the year. We held on to them. We didn't trade them. And now it'll come to fruition if it was the right move to keep the prospects or trade the prospects. I personally think Crawford, Miller, Painter will all help the big league club in 2026. I think Miller's going to be a star. I think Painter's going to be a star. I think Justin Crawford's going to be a really good player, not a star. But that'll do it for this episode. I love talking prospects. Let me know your guys' thoughts of which prospects you think are going to be good, which prospects you think are not going to succeed at the big league level. I love getting your guys' opinions because we are a Phillies community here on these type of episodes. When it's me and Ryan, we're a baseball community. But right now, we're diving into the Phils. So let me know what you guys think. Oh, before I go, tomorrow will be the episode with Jack Fritz. So I'm very excited to that. I'm going to just like ask him a bunch of Phillies questions, get his thoughts on the offseason, how the 2025 season ended, just kind of his Phillies fan journey. So stay tuned for that. We're recording tomorrow at 9 o'clock, so I should have that episode out for you guys maybe around 10, 10:30. But that'll do it for this, and you guys have a good one.